Thank you for taking the time to view this very short video, I hope, that would go in partnership with the Safe Sanctuary training that we have currently going on right now at the First United Methodist Church. So in lieu of having to attend a meeting, I'm asking you to review the paperwork and the policy on your own time and just sign off that you've read the policy, you understand the policy. Return the background check form, return the sheet that you've signed saying you've agreed to understand the policy, that you do understand the policy and agree to follow the policy. And all of those things are included in a packet that I've been handing out. If you volunteer at all in the church and do not have a packet, please see me and I will get you one. Now, this would include anyone volunteering with the children and the youth. This would include anyone who works in Sunday school, anyone who works in children's church, even if it's just as a substitute, anyone helping in the nursery, serving in the nursery, even if it's just once a year, people who drive the bus, people who work as chaperones, serve as chaperones, who may be in attendance at any of the children and youth functions. We are asking you to complete a background check for your protection as well as for ours at the church, our insurance criteria, and for our students. We're also asking you to review the policy that we have for our safe sanctuaries so that you understand what our policies are so that you can, to your very best knowledge, follow those policies. So if we were meeting in person, I would give you all of those forms and then we would go over the checklist. So the checklist would be on here, understanding the policy. It also it includes recognizing abuse and how to report that. It gives you a form on how to report it. If a student comes to you and shares anything that you think needs to be reported, now that can be verbal abuse, it can be physical abuse, it can be neglect, it can be anything that may be harmful or dangerous to a child. First of all, we don't know that the child is telling the truth. We need to kind of check into that and do some investigation of that. But we are mandated reporters. So if we are told of something, we must mandate. We are mandated that we must report it. So I would ask you to report that to me or report that to the pastor. As soon as a child suggests to you that they're going to share something that may be personal and may in some way be relevant to abuse or neglect, I would ask you to stop that child, explain to them that you are a mandated reporter, meaning that anything they tell you, you have to report. Then bring in a second person and have that discussion with a second person present. Now, when this has happened in the past, they have notified me. I have sat in as that second person. But pastor may also sit in as that second person. But we want to make sure there are two people during that conversation. Then we will make that formal report. And if we decide that the child is fabricating things, we may speak to the parents first. We have had situations where children were well known, well rehearsed in fabricating stories, in which case we, having known that, was able to address that ourselves. But in each and every case where we've had a mandated report, we've always heard back from them and they have always checked into it to determine for sure what's true and what's not. And we will leave that to the professionals to do that in nearly every single one of those cases. So if you believe there is a sign of any kind of abuse or neglect, if they start to tell you anything, then please include the pastor or I or a second person in that conversation and then do report it to the pastor or I. And that is something that we just need to do by law. The second thing in here is the reports of incidences and accidents. If a student in your care has some kind of accident, now I'm not talking about bug bites that they've scratched and need a Band-Aid. That's totally different. If they fall and they hit their head, we want to document that. If there's something that goes on that may need to be followed up with, we need to document that. And every classroom has these in the classroom in the plastic files on the wall, or they are hanging in the wall. And I will also get one in the gym, and I have one in the youth room. So basically, it's going to ask you to just fill out what student, what date, what time, what happened, who saw it. Make sure that the pastor or I then are given this. This way, if a parent calls and says, hey, my child says that they fell playing in the gym and they're having a headache, can you tell me a little bit more about what happened? We can go back to this report that you gave us and give them that information. It protects us, it protects the students, and it also allows us to have documentation should they need some kind of further medical care. Because if they file a report with insurance, we need to have an incident report of what happened for our insurance. So please, if a child is injured in your care, fill one of these out. If you don't know if you should fill it out, please speak to me and I will help navigate that situation. In your packet, you will have your covenant statement saying that you have read the policy and understand the policy. If you have any questions, please speak to me personally. We can take care of that. You also will find your background check form that you need to turn in. We run one on DCFS and one on the state. They both cover a little bit differently. The DCFS one is free. The state one comes back within an hour. So we do typically do both of those background checks. And we do that again to protect ourselves, protect you, and to protect the children. We want to be able to tell families when they come to our church that our church is a safe sanctuary church. We have everyone background checked and we have training, and that their children are in good hands. And that is very, very important to us as a church in serving our community and in the children and the families who are entrusting us in that care. So we need to do that. If at any time you see someone in the church you do not know, you are not familiar with, and for whatever reason the Holy Spirit tells you, maybe I need to check into this, please notify me. Notify the pastor. Notify Billy Hopkins. He's usually in the building. Notify someone in the kitchen, and they will find us. We have had in the past people come into the church when the children are here looking for assistance, looking for food, and we want to be able to serve those people, but we need to be able to identify them first. In every situation, we want to keep them separate from our children and from our youth and meet their needs in the way that they are being taken care of separately outside of that ministry. So if you see anyone that you think may be an issue, you don't recognize, you don't know why they're not there, it's okay to come and ask us. And we may say, oh yeah, they're fine. We know them. That's so-and-so's grandpa. That's okay. We still need to know that. If you're in Sunday school or at the gym with the kids at any time, we typically lock the doors after Sunday school begins, and then we open them for the sanctuary and then lock them again after service starts. We have on occasion had members of our community sit outside the locked doors waiting for the doors to be unlocked so that they may come in and ask for assistance. If you see this, again, please notify Billy, the pastor, notify me, notify we have some security members. So you may speak to Ricky Griffey, you may speak to Danielle Holbrook, you may speak to Bart Lingle, you may speak to John Shelby. Okay, they will speak to those persons outside the door, determine what it is they're waiting for, ask them to leave the property or try to meet their needs. We don't want the church family exiting those doors with people outside of the doors not knowing for sure what potential danger they might be or what their needs are. I should also mention to you that when we are in service in children's church, or we are in Sunday school, we are in Team Kids, or we are in youth group, I am asking you, please pick up your children in their classrooms, in their locations. Please come into the church. If we're in the gym, come into the gym. If we're in the youth room or the basement, come into the youth room or the basement and pick up your children. If we're in Sunday school, we're all down the same wing now. Please come pick up your children in the classroom. If they are in children's church, please come down the education wing and pick your child up. We have many children who have a habit of wanting to just go back to the sanctuary on their own. It's disruptive during the service, but also we cannot guarantee that that child is making a direct path from our location to the sanctuary. And should the parent come in and say, hey, where's my child? And I say, well, I sent them down to the sanctuary. They left to go down to the sanctuary. Did you not pass them? I don't know where they're at. We want full accountability and safety in place. So please come pick up your children in the classroom. Now, for the children who ride the bus, we will escort them down to the bus. We do need to do that in a timely manner. So please pick up your children on time so we may escort the others down to the bus for their pickup. If there is a problem and you cannot pick up your child in the classroom, just let us know and we will escort them to the sanctuary along with those bus riders. But we do want to make sure that every child is going home with their parent and not just leaving our location and going to the youth room, going to the gym, using the restroom, and we do not know where they are. So please do that. If a child gets hurt, every Sunday school class has a first aid box in the closet. We also have a first aid box in the office. We also have one in the youth room. During Vacation Bible School, I will have a first aid box in the lounge at registration table. That will include very simple things like Band-Aids, sprays, things like that. If we need to call someone to come pick up their child, we will do that. If a child has a bellyache or has a headache, I would prefer that someone call the parent and explain to the parent what's going on. If given permission to give them a Tums or an ibuprofen, we can do that, but we need to write down who we gave it to, what time, and what we gave them. I would prefer that those students have their parents come and administer that medicine themselves. That is my ideal situation. However, some of our parents bring other kids, their neighbor kids, or grandchildren. I've had teenagers. I can trust the teenagers and know if they can take an ibuprofen or a Tums. If you're with a child that you know well and you know it's okay, I'm going to give you permission to do that for those very simple over-the-counter things. Hydrocortisone cream, those type of things. But I really prefer that the parents administer any medication during Vacation Bible School, Children's Church, Sunday School, teen kids, youth, any situation, and then they can determine whether or not they need to go ahead and take them home as well. I also want to mention to you, should we have any kind of emergency evacuation, typically that might be fire or smoke, I will ask everyone to exit the building with their children in an orderly fashion. Make sure you have all of your children. You're aware of who is in your group. During Vacation Bible School, you will be given a list of what children are in your group. I ask everyone to exit the back doors and go to the superintendent school board parking lot. That's where we will do a head count and make sure that everyone is accounted for, including the adults. If we are in Sunday school, I'm asking the Sunday school teachers to exit the front doors directly across from the schools or the classrooms. There are no steps there exiting the building until you get outside, and there's very few steps. I would ask you to do that, and then if you feel it is necessary immediately to get them away from the building, cross the street and meet in that parking lot. If you feel like this is an emergency, we need to evacuate, but you have the option, there is time, it's not an immediate factor, you may circle the building with the students and meet back again at the school board parking lot. I prefer that we get the students out as quickly as possible, using as few steps as possible, and get away from the building as soon as possible. Then if you meet over there at the parking lot across from the church, we will probably drive the bus around, pick everybody up, and then relocate them to the school board office where we can all meet together. Because children are slower than older teenagers and adults, we want to get them out and away as quickly as possible. If you have a child in the nursery, I would ask that you go to the nursery and you remove your child yourself. I think there's going to be very few situations where we have to leave immediately. So if you are in the nursery, I would ask you to wait for those parents to come to claim their child. Otherwise, I'm asking every other parent to just meet us at the parking lot. If in the nursery you feel like you must evacuate those children right now, please do so. And we will make sure that we inform those parents where they might meet up with their children. Let's see. If you have a child who needs to use the restroom, most of the children are quite capable of doing that on their own. The kindergarten room has a toilet that is sized especially for children, and that door is very easy to use. Some of our other doors are very heavy. You may push the door open, allow the child to go in, and then stand at the door to help them open the door again in order to exit. If the child needs assistance, I would ask you to have this child step outside of the bathroom where you are seen publicly in a public space, and then help them with their zipper, their buttons, whatever that might be. Please do not enter a bathroom and close the door behind you with a child. You should never be alone with a child one-on-one. That is just good rule for the safety of everyone, for the child, for you, all the way around, we need to make sure that we are always in a public space where others can see us. Our classrooms have windows in them. We have people who walk the halls. So we are very much aware that we are in a public space when we are meeting with the children, and we should never find ourselves behind closed doors with just one child. In addition to that, if you are transporting a child, if it is your neighbor, it is your niece, it is your grandchild, that is not a problem. But if you are transporting another child that is not related to you or well known to you, I would very much ask that you take two children, take yours, take someone else's, drop theirs off first. Transportation is provided by our bus drivers. I transport students many times, but you should not be transporting a student entirely by yourself. You also should not be communicating with a child on your own, messaging a child just in between you. If you are messaging a child, sharing things with a child on their phones, you should be doing that by including the parent in that as well. Please do not post any videos or pictures of any children in your care without first asking me about it. Some children have limitations on what we're allowed to share, and when we share, we typically do not include the name of the student. There are exceptions when we are celebrating milestones, graduations, things like that, where we might identify that child, but that child will be an older child. Please do not share pictures without gaining permission from us. We gain permission from the parent on their permission slips. And if you as a parent do not want to grant permission for pictures to be on the bulletin board or to be shared on social media, as we're promoting our ministries and allowing our community to know that we are a living, thriving church discipling children, please let us know and we will not post those things. We will honor your requests. If you have some limitations about what you will allow and not allow, please put that in writing. If you give us permission and then change your mind, please put that in writing so that we are aware of it, so we are doing all we can to follow your rules and your boundaries. So that pretty much takes care of this time that I have for the Safe Sanctuary training. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. Please turn in all your paperwork in a timely manner. If you need additional copies, let me know. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And may we continue to disciple our children, our teens, our adults, our elderly very, very well and in a safe environment here at the First United Methodist Church of Metropolis.